I like Mason Graham. I think he's a good defensive tackle in this class, and I don't want this video to come across as a hit piece or seem overtly nitpicky and unfair. But when we are talking about a supposed top 5 pick, I have to be. After watching Mason Graham's film, I was underwhelmed. The discourse around him is he is a must-pick player, a game changer on the defense, and a perennial all-pro at the defensive tackle position in the next level, or a projected perennial all-pro. I think Graham does a lot of things well. For starters, his motor is next level. He gives every play maximum effort, and he's athletic enough for that to actually matter. I think he's a smart player and can read and react well for the most part, not all the time, and he makes splash plays both in run defense and against the pass. However, there was a lot to be desired as a consistent pass rusher. Graham could get wins, but something he lacks is the ability to counter when his first move doesn't work. He gets stuck in the mud a lot. Given his shorter arms, I saw guards and tackles get latched on with nothing for him to do. His swipes were ineffective a lot of the time in those situations. We're going to get into some of the film that I'm talking about, but before I do that, I do want to make it clear the perspective that I'm coming from with this video. It's going to sound pretty negative and like I'm expecting too much of him. I wouldn't normally be that way, but keep in mind this isn't a late first round or early second round expected player. This is supposedly a top 5 to 8 pick. Some people have dubbed him a blue chip prospect. He's ranked number 4 on PFF's big board for this draft. I feel as if I have to treat and compare him as a top 5 pick in this conversation. I understand that the film I'm going to show is just a small part of the picture. These are just some examples to highlight the points that I'm talking about. I did watch like 4 games worth of film, so I know what I'm talking about with him. I'm just going to show, examples of what I'm talking about. And while I'm not going over his good film today, know that there is plenty of good film to go over with him. I'm just not doing it for the sake of time. I don't want to be here all day doing this. I'm trying to make this about 20 minutes. With that being said, let's get into some film. All right, so what we have here is a mix of Mason Graham's run defense plays and some pass rushing plays from a few different games. I think it's Texas and Illinois. Those are 2 of the 5 that I watched and just the ones I decided to get some film off of to show you guys. To start though with this one, I want to say one of the points I have about him, because like I mentioned, top 5 pick that we're talking about, and that has different expectations to it than with different players. Being a top 5 pick, even people that have him as a top 5 projected player and worthy of that would admit that his pass rushing isn't the best aspect of his game, and he's just a top tier run defender. With that being said, I think this play is a good highlight as to why I think, as someone that's supposedly known for their run defense and being so incredible at it, this may come across as being a little bit unfair of expectations, but I think this play is a good example of why I don't see him as a top 5 player in the run defense category. I'll let this play out from here so you can watch, and then we'll go to another angle, but even this angle shows pretty well what I wanted to talk about here. So he gets double teamed here, and the other angle shows it decently well. It's the pushback on here for me. Now he ends up making the tackle. I put that in quotes. The running back kind of runs into him. I wouldn't credit this as a really good play from Mason Graham. So coming off, he meets his guy, and he gets pushed from the other guy on the other side. So this is his man right here, and here's the guy pushing him on the other side, right? This isn't a horrible, double team play that he's facing here. This isn't like he got absolutely demolished. My problem with this, and again, we're talking about a top 5 pick, there's a lot of pushback here. He's getting into the linebacker's lap, which is kind of the last thing we want as a defensive tackle when we're getting double teamed, is to get pushed into the linebacker's lap. One thing I know, and this probably isn't taught as much in the college level, but just for example, is we'd rather you bring both these guys down in this gap together than get pushed back into the linebacker's lap. And there is a lot of pushback here, and he does kind of get in the way of the linebacker here, who's now meeting with this guard and that tackle over there. And the running back ends up running into them, so I mean that's kind of on the running back. I'd say he had a better gap opportunity over there. That's kind of a bad play from him. And when we watch it from this angle, and it's a little far back, you see the pushback. There's Mason Graham. This is just the start. And we'll keep going. More and more pushback. Now, that doesn't really look like a top 5 pick in the NFL draft as a player defending the run from what is that, a 3-tech? Yeah, 3-tech. So not the biggest fan of that. Let's move on to another play. This one I zoomed in a little bit. This is a pass play. Now the thing with this is the Quinn Ewers gets the ball out really quick here. So I get it, right? That makes sense that he doesn't get a sack here. I'm not looking for a sack here. I'm looking to see the move and how well he does to get the ball out. And he is absolutely stuck here. He's not going anywhere. If you missed where Mason Graham is, there he is. And there is nothing going here. Nothing going at all. Does he face two different guys? Yeah. And he gets zero work on either of them, really. Quinn Ewers gets the ball out. Here's another angle. I'll show Mason Graham right there. Runs into two different guys here. And he's swimming. He's trying to work his way around. But when I say he gets stuck in the mud every now and then, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Some plays like this where he's just getting no movement in as a pass rush to the quarterback. He's holding his lane well. If Quinn Ewers stepped up into that area, he'd probably make a play, but we're not seeing anything special as a pass rusher. On to the next one. This ball, again, comes out really quick. There's the pointer showing you where Mason Graham is. Ball comes out quick. So, again, I'm not expecting a sack. I'm not even expecting a full pressure. What I'm looking for is the move and the skill set that he's able to give off to show how well off he is as a pass rusher. And in this play, I'll let this one play out a little bit. Again, we're just getting stuck and we're not getting good work here. And if I'll go to this angle here, here's Mason. It's maybe a little bit difficult to see from this angle. And he's kind of running into two different guys, but this one's just giving a hand to the center that's picking him up. So it's not really a true double team, I wouldn't say. And it's a little bit of this push and pull game. I mentioned his short arms. I think if his arms were a little bit longer, it'd be a little bit easier for him to get work on guys like this in these situations. Like I said, the ball comes out quick, but we're not seeing anything special come out of him in this play, in this short section. Quinn Ewers could have held onto this ball a lot longer, and I don't think Mason Graham is really getting involved in that pass rush whatsoever. It's just more and more getting stuck where he's at and not getting any real movement. Those hands are kind of swiping a little bit, but they're not going anywhere. It's just kind of a shove back and forth game he has. Is that fixable? Can you teach a guy to be a little more proactive with their hands in a more beneficial way? Yeah, absolutely. But we're talking about someone that hopefully has some of these things down and has the ability to do this off rip. I mentioned earlier when I was just talking that one thing Mason Graham does that's kind of an issue with me is if his first move doesn't work, he gets lost and he's just kind of there. He doesn't have much to do off of it. And this is a good example of that. Now, this one's a little tougher to see from this angle. And again, ball comes out quick, not expecting a sack or anything. Angle's a little tough to see. Mason Graham is right here. You can see him there. The thing with this play is I don't know why he's going in for a bull rush here. He doesn't really have it set up very well. Again, ball comes out quick. I'd like to see the secondary move, though. And for someone that doesn't have the insane strength and bull rushing ability that he has, I see him going into bull rushes quite often. And that's kind of what we're getting here. I'll let this play out so you can see how it goes in real time. And it's just not really, a special pass rush from him at all. Here's Mason Graham over on the right underneath number 1 here. I'll slow it down a little bit. Hops out. He's got good feet when he comes out. He explodes out, and he wants to explode out to the left here. Throw off the guard a little bit and get inside. That's fine. And then he wants to turn speed to power there, and he makes full contact on kind of both shoulder pads. It has a little bit of drive there, not bad. But the guard's able to anchor against that. And this is kind of the spot where I'd like to see, hey, let's bring this right hand up and get a big swipe on that shoulder. I'd honestly even say if he could find work on that other shoulder, or the right from the position of the guard, get a swipe over there where he's off balance and already kind of facing this way. But we don't see an attempt there really, And that whatever little attempt that is here that you see doesn't do much, and the guard's able to recalibrate and refit. And again, ball comes out quick, but I don't think he's winning that rep if Quinn holds onto that ball for an extra second. Now we got a play or two here from the Illinois game. Here's Mason Graham over on the top. There's the pointer for him. I'll let this one play out. And he just kind of, this is what I was saying earlier with like, he read and reacts well for the most part. This is kind of some of these situations I don't think he reads and reacts perfectly well because he kind of gets lost a little bit. Now this is another one where I feel like he's getting stuck. He's not getting any movement to where he wants to go. Ends up running into a double team. His gap is over here. His gap is still over here on the shoulder. He's not going in on a stunt necessarily. He's moving over because that's where he thinks the ball is going. And I know this because this linebacker's filling this gap right here. We get a puller coming across over to this side. And he's trying to swallow into where the puller is going, because where the puller's going, that's where the running back's going. But that's going to kind of end up being the job of this linebacker. And then the running back's able to just bounce out with this wide open gap that he left here. So this is maybe a little bit of a better example of how he is mentally, which, this is one play, but one thing I saw from him a lot when it comes to his mental ability and his read and react ability is he definitely falls for the RPOs and the play actions and counters, anything going, looking to the right and then going to the left. He does fall for those quite a bit. Now, if you give him a straightforward run, like a wide zone or something like that, he normally does a really good job on reading and reacting to those appropriately. But even in this situation, this is gap. We got a puller in here. And I like that he's going towards the puller, but you've made it a difficult situation for you because you're not making this tackle. You're not getting involved here. And now you've made it so your linebacker's not getting involved either. So he just comes up and makes, contact with him. The run's not, it's not a super big deal. The end ends up making the play and kind of two-gapping for him. But, I'd like to see him just stay home a little bit more in that situation. Now this one, I don't even know if showing this other angle is even really worth it. So I'll just play it from here. Here's Mason Graham. This is a pass. And we'll see how he kind of reacts to it. I'll let it play out from here, how this goes. Again, he's getting two-guy pressure, but he's got no movement at all. Quarterback ends up going out because the number 42 gets a nice little rush on him, and he has to duck underneath and roll out. But from Mason Graham's perspective, a top 5 pick, we're seeing him slant inside here, so I get it, it's a slant. It looks like it's a called slant for him. And not able to find any work. He's getting kind of tossed around here. And his arms just go dead at a point. Now, again, that's tough. You're facing two guys. And I know that this quarterback ends up rolling out here. But it's tough for him to know that immediately. And he wants to... He slants originally inside. That's where the work still is. He pretty quickly crashes trying to go back outside to where the second guy is. So instead of facing this two-man intentionally, this is where I'd like to see some work going inside here into this inside gap. Now again, quarterback ends up rolling out because he has to. But Mason Graham just gets absolutely no work or movement in on this play. This is another example of getting stuck in the mud, and I'll show this one from this angle just to see how the play plays out exactly. But it's going to be a little bit tough to see Mason Graham. You saw the pointer for him up top there. But this is him getting very, very washed in this situation and not having movement. This is a draw. And the issue here isn't the read and react stuff as much as it's just he's getting bodied. He's getting absolutely bodied. The work being put on him by this guard is insane. And he's getting no motion. And these are these short arms that I'm talking about. where we can't get any movement from him. The swipes are very ineffective, and he's not winning the leverage battle often enough. Yeah, that doesn't go well for him. Nice little run, not a big deal. He gets off the block eventually, and he's kind of able to chase him down. But so to me, a defensive tackle specifically, that's supposed to be a top of the line run defender, not being able to two gap and take on two-man blocking responsibilities and getting pushback is a big kind of deal breaker for me, especially when we're talking about someone that is a top 5 pick. And I know I keep saying that and mentioning that, but that's really important in this discussion. I didn't watch Mason Graham's film and feel as if he was that top 10, top 5 sort of player. Maybe not even top 15. I don't know. I'd consider him there in the, around 15 or whatever. I know he's going to be taken higher than that, but just my personal preference and what I saw from his film, I didn't see it at all. If we're not going to be a player that provides an exceptional amount of pass rushing ability, and we are going to be that run defense kind of guy, yeah, the effort's great. The read and reactability on normal zone runs and even in gap, that's great and everything. But when we're getting, we're getting two guys on us in a block, and we're getting pushed back that much into the linebacker's lap, that's a big problem. And then the read and reactability on stuff like counter, and when there's, quarterback is doing a play action boot and rolling back out and him completely falling for that. I didn't show enough film for that kind of stuff. Sorry about that. That kind of stuff is also a drag to me. Getting stuck as often as he did and not getting any movement. Seriously, to me, I almost called him Braden Fisk because I have him on my mind watching his film. But with Mason Graham, some of these plays, I'm watching him get stuck and losing leverage battles so consistently that problem is going to grow even more in the NFL. Guys have even longer arms and even longer bodies. They have even more strength. The strength I saw from Mason Graham just wasn't exceptional to me either. We're not seeing him get a lot of pushback against guys on the offensive line. And for someone that is supposed to be that top 5 pick, those are the kind of things I need to see. You can be a top 5 pick at the defensive tackle position without being an insane pass rusher. But if the next thing up is supposed to be run defense, and to me that run defense is just good and it isn't exceptional, you're not playing, with a nose tackle's ability at the weight and size that he is, then I'm not sold. I'm not sold on Mason Graham with where he's projected to go. I hope I highlighted some of that pretty well. To me, it seems like when it comes to pass rushing, like I mentioned in the beginning, if he doesn't win immediately, and again, watch the film, watch the good film that he has, there are some great wins that he has. If he doesn't win immediately, then it's a very big struggle for him to regroup and win against that offensive lineman he's going up against, to regather himself, refit, and get a good counter move going. He doesn't really have that going for him. Could that be because of his arm length? Yeah, that could be a good portion of it. Could it also be that he's just, unwilling, not because he doesn't want to, but because that's just tough for him? That seems like a big part of it too, because it doesn't seem like a lot of really good attempts to do that. The other thing, and I kind of mentioned this with the run defense, but I'll mention it here with pass rushing, I don't think his strength is as on par to what everyone else is saying about him. There are a lot of plays that he has on film in one-on-one, especially in run defense, where you see that strength show up. He can fit and stack and shed really well in a lot of those one-on-one situations. But again, that's when it happens very quickly. It happens at the snap of the ball, and he wins with his get-off. He wins with good hand placement, and he does have a lot of power coming off of that three-point stance. If that doesn't happen, then to me, we're seeing a pretty average player. When he does win very quickly, it looks great. But when he doesn't, we're seeing a really average player at the defensive tackle position. To me, I watched Mason Graham's film and saw a splash player both in run and pass defense. And he kind of reminded me of Braden Fisk overall, which I know Braden Fisk had a good year this season, but a lot of his pass rushing was coming from schemed up looks that the Rams had, where, we have our penetrator and then our looper, a lot of those kind of stunts that they do. The Rams do them just as much, probably more than anyone else in the league. That was a lot of the work that Braden Fisk got this year. Mason Graham has the ability to get some sacks this season wherever he's drafted if you use him that way, but not every team is doing that nearly as much. A lot of teams want to rush for up front and have them win that way. I don't think Mason Graham has the ability to do that. I think even if, you are lucky enough to get him in one-on-one situations, I don't think he's going to win each one of those reps, because I didn't see him win each one of those reps in college. When it's one-on-one, I don't think his game was consistent in those situations. I thought his game was, again, very splashy. He will win immediately in a one-on-one situation, or he'll just get completely stuck in the mud. His feet won't be going anywhere. His hands will be swiping at nothing with those shorter arms that he has. So I'm not sold on Mason Graham as this, just absolutely have to have guy early on in the draft. If this guy had, no history or anyone telling me who he is and where he should be taken, and I just had to guess, I'd say like mid to late first round. I'd say like 20. I don't know. I definitely wouldn't say top 5. That's just my opinion. If you think differently, let me know, please. I'd love to know where exactly I was wrong in this. And again, I know some people are going to see some of the clips I showed and say like, hey, what about this clip where he did it differently and he did it better than what you're saying? I get it. But we're not talking about someone that can do things every now and then or has the ability to do things every now and then. We're talking about someone that's supposed to be able to be taken number 4 or number 5 overall, that has those things registered in his brain right now, has the body of work and the ability to do it consistently. I didn't see that with Mason Graham. And with all of the things I just said, I think if we're looking at Mason Graham, who's 21 years old, I'm pretty sure. He was born in 2003. That's what I just saw, so I'm going to go ahead and guess he's 21. We're talking about a guy that is decently young and has a lot of athletic abilities, about 320 pounds. I'd actually, if I had to guess, I'd say is a little bit lighter than that, but let's just say 320 pounds. This is someone that you could really build up and work to be a very good defensive tackle if you can get some of those things cleaned up, if you can get a better pass rushing plan going forward, if you can get him stacking and shedding more consistently instead of just, ramming into an offensive lineman and hoping for the best. If you can get some of those things cleaned up, I think you've got a very good defensive tackle. I don't think he's that right now, and I'm not willing to use an very early pick on someone that has that much work to be done. Anyways, that is what I think of Mason Graham. I think he's a little bit overrated in this class. If you disagree, let me know. If I made some bad points, also let me know. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, like, all that stuff.